Okay, I ran out of time, so I'm going to try to go faster for the rest of this presentation. So we talked about multisensory instruction, and basically all of presentation except for one more thing I wanted to say, and I will not spend time on this, but word problems or story problems are difficult for the students with dyscalculia. And so in order to help them, Iris, the site that we viewed the module on, and I viewed another one today about math difficulties and being able to help students with math, has an idea. I don't know if it's theirs originally or what, but I think it's excellent. And it's about teaching, instead of teaching little teeny words within a word problem like all together and removed, those kind of words, it's about teaching the students about the whole attribute of a type of word problem. They call it the structure of the word problem. And so that when they read a word problem, they can kind of put it into a couple of different types of word problems, and I actually listed them here. The additive schemas, the multiplicative schemas, the ratio proportional, or the combined. And it's meant to be presented over, the whole journey of a math student. But I think in a small Christian school where teachers communicate and kids are there from K through 12, it could be very helpful for this population. So I included the link, and I plan to investigate it more for my particular school. I'm very excited about the possibilities. I couldn't get it to copy a example of it. It was excellent, and it included color and such, but I was not able to do that on the slide, so just go to the link and check it out. I'm really impressed with it. I hope that the link works well. Moving on though, so the next part is the expression. So in the UDL classroom, we have to consider how the students are going to practice and how they're going to be assessed, how they can express themselves best. And so the first thing for both practice and for assessment is they're going to need extra time, and they're going to need to know they have extra time because they get very good at understanding that they need extra time, and that worries them. So assure them extra time. They're going to need the use of a calculator or maybe a fact sheet. Get to the goal. If the goal isn't about just the operation of multiplication, then let them use the calculator. If the goal is to be able to go through the steps of long division, let them use the calculator to get the multiplication because they don't know their math facts. Encourage use of colored pencils or some other colored maybe markers so that they can see the process and see different steps. And use digital platforms for practice, like IXL is an excellent one. And it's very self-paced, and it goes all the way, the problems and the instructions go all the way from kindergarten all the way to grade 12. They include calculus in it. And students love it because it provides a lot of practice, but it has incentives, little digital incentives that they get, little prizes. And it also gives, for those who are not struggling with language disabilities, it gives instruction embedded. So if they're having a problem with something, they can click and it will explain and give them examples and give them a written explanation. So for some of them, that works out really well. ModMath is an excellent app. It doesn't have any kind of calculation component to it. It's simply a way, it's kind of like word processor for math. It looks like graph paper, and the student can press on the little boxes and beautifully line up their numbers. And it was designed by an individual, a young man with dysgraphia, and it's very helpful, and it's free. You can purchase some more qualities to it, but it is initially free. It is wonderful. Identify and interpret errors for the student during their practice time and explain why. They need to know the whys. And then provide keys for steps and formulas. Again, if they're just needing to be able to use a formula, but their working memory is causing it to take a long time to memorize the formula, give them the formula and make sure they can apply it. Then for assessment, the same thing. They need to know that they have that extra time. Usually they need 1.5 to 2 times for their assessment, what the rest of the class is taking. They, CAST, the website CAST, suggested, of course, because they're the ones that are, I guess, designed UDL, or at least overseeing UDL. And so they suggest conducting formative assessments often, which makes sense. And then I was just thinking, because of slow processing, because it's difficult with their working memory to be able to really kind of think through the problems, it takes them so long to do an assessment, that I think it would possibly be a good idea to give short summative assessments more often. Like, instead of giving them a unit test, give them pieces throughout the unit, give them the parts of the test. Because a lot of times teachers design their tests to sort of build from the beginning of the unit. Can we do the easy steps? Now the next steps, now the next steps. Why don't they just take those parts of the formative assessments along the way, instead of having this overwhelmingly like 2-hour test to take every time that they finish a unit? I think that might be a good idea for this population of learners. And then remove the barriers. And I love that. That's my new catchphrase from UDL, because that just makes so much sense. Write your goal, now remove barriers. I just love that. So for example, calculator or fact sheet, depending on what your goal is, let them use their fingers. Their fingers are connected to them. Their fingers help them with quantity. Formula keys, anchor charts, manipulatives if needed on the test. Yes, the 7th grader too. We have to think like that. And then mod math so that they can answer things digitally. And then address, for engagement, I'm trying to hurry because my time is almost up. But so for engagement, besides the fact that you're going to give them some choices, I feel like hang on, did I miss something? Okay, no, never mind. I know what it was. Excuse me. So address their sensory needs and their anxiety needs. Remember that they're already hopefully going to be engaged because, you've removed some barriers for them. Write some of the problems that they have to solve, reflecting their interest. Find out who they are and incorporate that into the word problems. Construct student practice and testing that's relevant to them. Like, I think if they could, plan a graduation party and have to figure out the cost and, maybe the tax and such, or something else, just something engaging that has to do with real life. Try to build that in as much as possible for them. Provide them with choices. So maybe they can decide what kind of problem they want to do, or maybe the kind of reward that they're going to do for a certain amount of effort, or maybe present 3 problems of increasing challenge and let them choose what they think that they're ready to accomplish, but all within meeting the goal. Talk through the steps with them. Just talk about it with them. Have empathy for them, and just make it a discussion. People like to talk with one another sometimes, unless they're the shy student. Use songs, especially like with multiplication facts and such. Illustrate the problems. Have them illustrate the problems, so you get your artists involved. Take pictures. And I'm looking at the time. One time I actually had my class. We were doing what would you call it? A minuend and a subtrahend. When the subtrahend is the same as the minuend, the answer is going to be 0, right? So I was trying to teach that skill to my first graders. So I had them all sit in their seats. There were 11 of them. I took a picture on my iPad. Then I said, okay, get up and come over on the green carpet. Took another picture of the empty desks. We talked about how 11 minus 11, we removed them, equals 0. And I was able to show them on the iPad, and they thought that was really cool. Have them have choice in their groups and with independent work, and all of those ways will engage them. So the last part of my presentation is just letting you know that, of course, I just some more sources. I kind of listed some of the sources throughout this, but also I did at first consult the LDA of America.org. And then also I listened to an excellent interview on dyscalculia by Attitude Magazine, and I would encourage you to check it out. It was really good. It's actually my 3rd time ever watching it, or listening to it, because it's super good. And I've learned a lot all 3 times. iExcel is an excellent website. ModMath is also very helpful to this group of students. Plus, if you have kids that have fine motor needs, it is very nice. It might make Mama the scribe not have to be a scribe so much for those kinds of students. So thank you for listening. I'm sorry that this went so long, but I hope it's helpful. It helped me. I picked it because this is one of the learning disabilities that I really don't know very much about. So I really enjoyed getting to know about it because I was listening to that podcast and learned that I might have said this at the beginning of my presentation. I can't even remember now, but there are probably as many students struggling with dyscalculia as there are dyslexic students. And we know there are a lot of those. So it's important that we learn how to help them. Thanks so much for listening. I'm very interested for your feedback. I'm not a math person, so anything that you can tell me to help me, I would love to hear about it. I'm all ears. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.